The programs overseen by the Bureau of Land Management Eastern States have the potential to touch the lives of many Americans who call home any of the states bordering or east of the Mississippi River. The BLM, a bureau of the Department of the Interior, stems from a historic merger between the Grazing Service and the General Land Office in 1946. Today, BLM natural resource specialists and supporting staff oversee millions of acres of subsurface federal mineral estate and surface acres of public lands that hold invaluable resources, minerals, recreational opportunities, and habitat for wildlife. In 1812, Congress created the General Land Office.
I always tell everyone we got our 4 cool vaults here that are unique. You won't find it anywhere else in the world.
This door is fireproof, and we're about to step back into history.
Today, the Bureau of Land Management Eastern States is the custodian of more than 9 million historic land title records dating back to 1787. The very first patent ever issued by the federal government was made out to John Martin. These documents record the transfer of land to the original buyer or land given to soldiers, such as this warrant made out to a young Abraham Lincoln, receiving 120 acres of land as compensation for military service.
You have these one-of-a-kind land title records here. That is probably one of the largest collections you'd see outside the archives or Smithsonian.
Old land deeds are taken to the bindery to be preserved and scanned online. Once the scanning process is complete, the documents are entered into the computer system. Then they are archived on site to continue the preservation of these important historical documents that are now available online.
You can sit at home and do your title searches. You can research your family history on the website. You can look at survey plats.
People visit the GLO for research or to settle questions of ownership. The GLO Records website is one of the Department of the Interior's most visited websites. Each of the documents in the GLO have their beginnings in a cadastral survey. BLM's cadastral surveyors conduct one of the core functions of the Eastern States as the nation's surveyors, establishing the proper boundaries of federal public lands. Cadastral surveyors spend many hours retracing the original land boundaries.
This tree was marked as a reference by Willis T. Richardson in 1891. By measuring one or more of these, we know that we're in an exact location that he was in.
The nation's first cadastral survey was completed by Thomas Hutchins in 1785. He was dispatched by the Continental Congress to complete what is now known as the 7 Ranges Survey in the new territory of Ohio. The BLM Eastern States is the largest land title record repository in the United States. Through our Lands and Realty program, we provide for public land identification, land tenure adjustments, and responses to public inquiries on land title issues.
Over 40,000 people a year transit that rugged stone causeway to get to this unique island and visit this very special place.
Captain Bob Desch oversees the Cana Island Lighthouse in Door County, Wisconsin, a place that draws photographers from all over the world with its rich maritime history.
She has stood watch undisturbed since 1869, and the classic Fresnel lens that still rests in her lantern is exactly the lens that was installed when the lighthouse was built.
The Cana Island Lighthouse is a good example of how the BLM transfers excess public lands to benefit local communities.
We needed to, one, preserve it and restore it, and secondly, we needed to have it open to the public.
Public lands are an important source of the nation's energy and mineral resources. BLM Eastern States raises federal revenue from the leasing of mineral rights for development of oil and natural gas to private industries across 16 states. The BLM also has an active hard rock leasing program that includes coal, copper, and lead.
Number 20 on the lot, 2 and 2 and 2 at $2. Item number 4 at $2.
The BLM hosts 4 oil and gas lease sales a year at the Eastern States office in Springfield, Virginia.
And to 2, 2 to bomb 3 and 3 and 3 and 2 to $3. Sold at $2,500 on the 3.
The minerals, it's the one that pays all the bills, it's the one that generates all the revenues, and it touches a lot of different people's lives, and the revenues are shared with the states.
But the BLM involvement in exploration and drilling operations doesn't stop after the sale is complete. BLM specialists play a role in inspecting operations on the ground and enforcing any stipulations that were made as a condition to operations going forward. The Eastern States Energy and Minerals Program generates over $100 million a year for the federal treasury in new rentals, royalties, fees, and bonuses. Coal, oil, and natural gas will supply a large part of the nation's energy needs and jobs well into the future. The BLM Eastern States manages land and resources for many uses in remote and urbanized areas. Volunteers exemplify the BLM mission, managing lands of all the shared public interests. One natural resource gem is located at Meadowood in Lorton, Virginia.
Some of the things that I enjoy most about working here at Meadowood, it's being out in a beautiful natural environment that's pretty much unspoiled, and also working a lot with the public, working with a lot of youth groups, with school kids, trying to educate them about the natural world outside.
Students learn about natural resource issues and career opportunities by volunteering on National Public Lands Day.
Trees and stuff out here.
BLM volunteers control the spread of invasive plants by mowing and herbicide application. And Lake Vermilion is one of the largest lakes in northeastern Minnesota, with 86 islands that BLM manages with local and tribal partners for public enjoyment. One special area that is congressionally designated property in the National Landscape Conservation System is Jupiter Inlet Lighthouse Outstanding Natural Area. The BLM Eastern States preserve, protect, and restore land that have outstanding cultural, ecological, and scientific values.
We did find artifacts dating to 5,000 years, and even significant pottery finds that equate with those in South Carolina and Peru, indicating that the very first pottery made in the New World was made right here at this site.
Florida's Jupiter Inlet is a striking example of a location where history and the natural environment have perfectly converged. It is home to 25 special status species.
Throughout the history of Jupiter, this area has been the focal point for not only Jupiter but the community. I think every community has a special place, and for us, it's the lighthouse.
The Jupiter Inlet Lighthouse was completed in 1860. The 108-foot brick tower sits at a prominent point bordered by the Loxahatchee and Indian rivers. Through the years, the site has served as one of the first U.S. Weather Bureau and signal stations. This outstanding natural area is visited annually by thousands of people from the local community and across the U.S. and abroad. The fire program balances property and resource protection with the needs of a fire-adapted landscape. Jackson Interagency Hotshots are elite wildland firefighters who work closely with rural and volunteer fire departments and partner with other federal and state agencies to achieve fire management goals in the eastern United States. They protect life, property, and natural resources by suppressing wildfire and manage prescribed burns to reduce hazardous fuels. The crew offers career training for a culturally diverse workforce, providing a critical national fire suppression resource. The Jackson Hotshots also deploy in response to any emergency, including hurricanes and floods, to manage resource needs following such disasters. The BLM protects, manages, and controls wild horses and burros under the authority of the Wild Free Roaming Horses and Burros Act of 1971. Since the Spaniards first introduced the horse to Northern America, there have been wild horses running free on public rangelands in the western states. There are greater numbers of these living legends than the land can support, so the BLM gathers horses and burros from the range to offer for adoption throughout the country. The BLM in the eastern states has a record of placing 1/3 of all horses and burros that are adopted nationwide. Two wild horse success stories are Wyatt and Lonesome, Mustangs that were adopted by the U.S. Army.
Bureau of Land Management puts this brand on all their Mustangs. It's called an Alpha Angle Code. They pull a caisson wagon which carries a fallen soldier to their final resting graves in Arlington National Cemetery.
Online adoption is also available every 2 months by logging on to the BLM Horse Adoption website.
I recommend researching the BLM website, researching the requirements of the program, talking to other adopters and talking to other volunteers and trying to educate yourself as much as you can before you take a wild horse home.
The BLM holds numerous adoptions at locations throughout the eastern states, bringing wild horses and burros to local communities where anyone may be able to adopt one of America's living legends. Our past public land laws and policies continue to evolve and define the future of our nation's publicly owned lands. In eastern states, that future lies with empowering people to protect, preserve, and enhance the public lands in their communities. Visit one of our offices or log on to www.blm.gov.